All right, guys, so just a little information on a few things regarding air pollution today. We're going to talk about the Clean Air Act, the Montreal Protocol, and the Kyoto Protocol. You need to be able to associate the goals with the act or the protocol, okay? So with the Clean Air Act, the goal was to reduce all air pollutants, all of them. Basically, think about clean up our air, clean up our act, okay? So the Clean Air Act goal was to reduce all air pollutants, getting all the nasty crap out of the atmosphere, and they were successful. They reduced a significant amount of air pollutants from our atmosphere, 98% since 1970. So the Clean Air Act was very, very successful. Then we have coming up, the Montreal Protocol. And the Montreal Protocol calls for a reduction in chlorofluorocarbons, and not just a reduction, but a phasing out of all ozone-destroying chemicals throughout the world. So this was also very successful. CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, and these man-made chemicals that put scar tissue in the ozone layer, they're no longer being created or produced. They are, however, sold on the black market, unfortunately, like blood diamonds, because they are fantastic refrigerants. But they have been phased out, and they're no longer legally used. Chlorofluorocarbons put scar tissue to the ozone layer, and it's very difficult for the ozone layer to recover from that, and poking these holes in the ozone layer leads to an increased amount of infrared radiation, UVA, UVB radiation coming into our lower troposphere and effectively increasing the risk of skin cancer. So reducing chlorofluorocarbons was a really good thing that the Montreal Protocol was successful at reducing. So Montreal Protocol is the chlorofluorocarbons, and then your book doesn't give a slide for the Kyoto anymore, so I just stuck one in here. And the Kyoto Protocol called for a reduction of greenhouse gases, all greenhouse gases, and specifically focusing on carbon dioxide, and a reduction of these greenhouse gases for the purpose of mitigating pollution and climate change, essentially. And so associate the Kyoto Protocol with reduction in greenhouse gases, associate the Montreal Protocol with a reduction in chlorofluorocarbons, and associate the Clean Air Act with a reduction in all toxic air pollutants. Then we're going to talk about a couple things here. Right, leapfrogging. So the trouble with these protocols and these Clean Air Acts is that the whole world has to get on our clean up the air bandwagon, because if they don't, then it's kind of similar to trying to empty the ocean one bucket at a time. If you look at this slide here, we have leapfrogging. Okay, so what this means essentially is pollution in one region of the earth can leapfrog around. Maybe I'll play that game when you were a kid, leapfrog, and you jumped over the person in front of you. And it can leapfrog around the globe to have negative effects in regions that are far, far away from the original source of the pollution. And so, for example, if the United States is doing a really great job of cleaning up the air, using scrubbers, using electrostatic precipitators, and they're doing a really good job of limiting the amount of pollution they put into the atmosphere. But China is just burning fossil fuels like it's their job, because it is their job right now. And they're not doing anything to limit the amount of pollution going into the atmosphere. Then all of that pollution gets caught in the Hadley cells in the lower troposphere and gets mixed around and transported and moved to other portions of the Earth. And if you think back to your atmospheric chapter, when we talked about these Hadley cells are those large atmospheric circulation cells, essentially massive atmospheric currents that circulate the lower troposphere, or the lower atmosphere, which is the whole troposphere. So you live in the troposphere. That is the lowest layer of the atmosphere, and the Hadley cells circulate throughout the entire troposphere. So all the way up to the base of the stratosphere, all the way down to the surface of the Earth. So any pollution that happens on the surface of the Earth gets mixed around in those Hadley cells and can be mixed and transported, okay, throughout the rest of the earth. So pretty much anything that gets emitted into the air can get mixed around and spread throughout the entire globe. So cleaning up the air, reducing air pollution in all aspects really needs to be a global effort for it to have a significant effect.